This episode of the Jim Stroud Podcast is brought to you by Career Intelligence Weekly, the newsletter that tracks the invisible job market for smarter career decisions. Subscribe now at newsletter.jimstroud.com. Nobody owns the decision that costs you rent. You applied for a job that covered your rent. A model read your resume in 300 milliseconds and said no. Nobody read it after that. Nobody will tell you why either, because nobody at the company can. The recruiter cannot see the criteria. The hiring manager never saw your name. The vendor who built the screen sits in another state under contract and not taking your call. The story here is not the bias in that model. The story is that nobody is home. Right now, there's a fight in courtrooms over which way the thumb sits on the scale. Some hiring models are built to lift candidates up from underrepresented groups. That was the design. Correct the record, widen the funnel, break the pattern matching that kept the hiring of the same guy for 40 years. Then came the lawsuits. White and Asian male candidates claiming they got screened out for their demographics, which is the exact injury the correction was built to end. Now, both sides have a case. Both sides are arguing about the dial. If you hire people, this argument lands on your desk this year. If you are looking for work, it already landed. Here is what neither side is arguing about. Set the dial either way and the same machine still makes the call. Same fraction of a second. Same silence afterward. Nobody in that courtroom is answering for the machine itself. That is the argument nobody is having. One case making the rounds involves a large tech company and an internal audit of its own screening model. According to that audit, the model gave female and black candidates a lift of about 15% in the first screen. The company called it a correction for historical bias. The plaintiffs called it a quota with better branding. A court has not ruled. Here's the part that surprised me. Nobody disputes the number. Both sides accept that the thumb was on the scale. They disagree, though, about whether the thumb belonged there. And that number only exists because the company went looking for it, then wrote it down. Most companies never look. The ones that do, bury it. So the only screening systems anybody can argue about are the ones honest enough to hand over the evidence. Everything else runs quiet. Think about what that means for the rest of the market. I mean, really think about it. Thousands of employers are running models nobody has measured. And the absence of a scandal is being read as proof of fairness. It's not proof of anything. It's proof that nobody looked. Now, notice what this lawsuit proves, right? A company that measured itself is now the defendant. The competitor down the street that measured nothing sleeps fine. That is the incentive we built. Look. I mean, really look at your systems. Look if there's any bias there. And if you do, you could get sued. Don't look at all, and you are a case study on efficiency. Kind of ironic. Now, the mechanism, because you can't see the criteria. You can't appeal the logic. You cannot see your own score. That's not a flaw in the system. It's not a flaw. That's the product. A vendor sells speed. Speed means no human reads the thing that got rejected. Employers are racing to plug in the newest reasoning models because they promise cheaper screening and faster screening. Nobody has proven they deliver fairer screening. The decision does not evaporate either. It gets logged. Your name, your score, your rejection code, parked in a system you never signed up for and cannot request. Apply somewhere else next month, and there is a real chance the same vendor sits under a different logo. 3 employers, 1 brain, 1 verdict. Nobody sends the email that says you scored a 71 and the cutoff was 75. That email would be useful to job seekers. However, that same email would also be evidence. Cost is easy to measure. Time is easy to measure. Fairness takes an outside auditor, a lawyer, and 3 months, nobody's schedule. So fairness does not get measured. And a thing that never gets measured never gets fixed. That is not a technology problem, people. That is a purchasing decision made by a person at a company with a name. Now, the uncomfortable version. Let's say the plaintiffs win. Say the boost comes out and the model runs clean. It still does not run neutral. It runs on 20 years of one company's hiring history, which is a record of who got picked back when a human did the pattern matching. You strip the correction, the AI boost rather, and you don't get fairness. You get the past on autopilot when you think about it. Now flip it, all right? Let's say that this boost that gives underrepresented groups a boost in screening, say that it stays. The lawsuits will keep on coming because a candidate who loses to a number he can't see, will sue the company using that number. Either verdict leaves the same box, closed, fast, unaccountable. That's why the dial is a distraction. The score that these resumes get from these systems, these AI systems. Both sides want a setting that they can point at. Neither side is asking who has to answer for 40,000 rejections nobody read. Be careful what you wish for on transparency, right? The company that shows you your score is the same company that decides what the score means. A dashboard without an outside auditor is a receipt, not a right. Which brings things back to you. If you own hiring, if you're on the hiring side, ask your vendor 3 questions before the next renewal, right? Ask them, who audits this model, and are they independent of you? Can a rejected candidate get a reason why they were rejected? Who inside my company signs off when the system says no? And then ask those questions in writing. If a vendor doesn't answer that question, well, no answer is an answer, all right, if you know what I mean. Now, if you're the job seeker applying, know what the silence means and what it does not. It is not a verdict on your worth. I can't stress that enough. It's simply a machine clearing a queue. You cannot beat a black box from the outside, so stop trying. Spend an hour on the person who can walk your name past the box instead. A referral is the only appeal process that works right now, believe me. Now back to that third of a second, those 300 milliseconds. A machine makes the call gets written down, and the record follows you to the next company running the same software. Getting ghosted after a date costs you a weekend. But this kind of ghosting, when a system blocks out your resume with no recourse for you, that costs you rent. And until somebody has to sign their name next to a rejection notice, hiring is not a process. It's how to say this? It's a lottery with a legal department. You have been listening to the Jim Stroud Podcast, a proud member of the Purple Acorn Network. If you like what you heard, hate what you heard, or don't know what you just heard, I want to know about it. Email your questions and comments to podcast@jimstroud.com. That's podcast@jimstroud.com. Do it now. Operators are standing by. Well, that's it for now. I'll be back later, right here, with a brand new episode. So until then, bye-bye.